So now that we have images in here, we can actually start using the picture tools and adjusting the pictures inside of our document. Pictures are used constantly to be able to provide additional information as well as visual images and just to give a break to the reader. So when you have a picture, you want to select it, and when you select it, you get this bounding box around it. And I want to talk about this bounding box for a minute. This bounding box allows you to resize the image, and something that's important, I think, is you can actually click on these dots and resize them and adjust the height and the width. Now, I would highly recommend you never adjust like from the top or bottom or the left or right individually, because you actually distort the image and that can make things look unprofessional. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Z to go back. When you're working with an image, you should be when you're resizing an image, you should be utilizing these corners. And when you utilize these corners, it's going to allow you to keep that image proportional and looking professional at the same time, just like if you were going to be utilizing, it in a business document. And I think this is important because things look really unprofessional when they do get distorted. Something else that is on this bounding box is this little like arrow with a circle, and that allows you to actually rotate your image. So you can rotate your image around and it'll push the content around it and adjust it as needed. So that's kind of what this bounding box and the rotation piece do. When you're clicked on an image, you've also got the picture format options. The picture format become available on the ribbon when you're clicked on the image. If you're clicked off of it, it disappears, so you have to be clicked on that image to get that tab to appear. And there's a lot of things that we can do inside of this. The first thing that we can do is remove the background. So when you're removing the background, this isn't always working like super great, but it does give you an option, especially if you have just a little bit you need to get rid of. But if you hit remove background, it will actually attempt to find the subject of the image, and everything in purple is what's going to get removed when you hit keep changes. If you use your pencils, you can actually mark certain areas to keep or mark certain areas to remove. So let's say, for instance, I want to keep the bowl. I can then click and drag along the bowl, and it will attempt to find the bowl and the fork as much as possible, as well as the top of the spaghetti. So I can continue adding, clicking and dragging as I move through here, and it's working off of colors. So whenever the color changes, it's going to try and find, as much of it as it can to keep. And if you mess up, you can just like hit Control Z on your keyboard to go back and those kinds of things. But you can see it's not super effective when the background has a lot going on and it's having a hard time seeing between the different pieces. But you could do it if you wanted to. And then you can mark areas to remove if you need to put areas to remove, and so on and so forth, working with it and trying the best that you can to get what you need. Once you have the area that you want, you can hit keep changes, and that will remove everything, making it transparent. So that's an option that you have. You've then, inside this adjustment group, also got even more. You can do corrections, you can do color, you can do artistic effects, transparency, all of these different things that are great features for you to be able to use. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my second image here, and I'm going to start adjusting things. So I'm going to go to corrections here, and what I'd like you to apply is brightness plus 20% and contrast plus 20%. So underneath corrections, you're looking to apply brightness plus 20% and contrast plus 20%. So when you do this, you hover over these, you can see we have sharpen and soften, and we have brightness and contrast. So if I'm applying brightness 20% and contrast plus 20%, I'm going to go to brightness and contrast. And when you hover over these, they tell you what they are. Some of them have extra pieces, and so I'm looking to do this plus 20% on brightness and plus 20% on contrast, and that will obviously bring that up. Now I'd like you to sharpen it by 50%. So go ahead and sharpen it by 50%. To sharpen this by 50%, going back to corrections, underneath sharpen and soften, softens on the left, sharpens on the right, and I'm going to sharpen it by 50%, making it higher pixels and all those things to really just get into those cracks and show the contrast. Now what I'd like you to apply is I would like you to apply a temperature of 11,200 K. That is a color setting. So we're looking to do a color setting of temperature 11,200 K. Temperature 11,200 K. So under colors, I'm going to be able to go, and you can see there's color saturation, where I'm working on like how saturated are the colors, how bright are they compared to black and white. I then got color tone, and when I hover those, you can see that temperature adjusts, and then this is where I'm going to be looking. But then also you have recolor. You can set a transparent color, lots of different options for you to be able to do. I'm looking for doing temperature 11,200K, which is this last option in color tone, clicking that and really brightening up those colors. Next thing I'd like you to apply is an artistic effect of glow edges. Go ahead and apply an artistic effect of glow edges. So to do this, I'm going to go to Artistic Effects, and all of these have names. They're not in alphabetical order, unfortunately, so you're going to kind of have to look. But Glow Edges is this last one with the crazy neon glowing edges. The last thing I want to apply is Transparency 30%, so go ahead and set that to Transparency 30%. So transparency is how see-through the actual picture is. So if I go ahead and change that to 30% right here, using transparency 30%, you'll see that it will actually make it so that it's far less bright. And you can actually, if you've had stuff behind it, see through to that stuff. So that's how you can kind of adjust adjustments on the picture. One thing I do want to ask you to do before we leave this video is to reset this picture back to its default settings. So I'd like you to see if you can reset it. To reset this picture up in the adjustment settings, you actually have these abilities to compress pictures. You have the ability to change the picture to a new one, but then your last option is to actually reset it and take all the formatting options away from the picture and put it back to where it was. So I'm going to reset that picture, bringing it back to its original view.